Work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon House.
And welcome. Arizona's Trojan Horse, Qatar City. Arizona's Trojan Horse, Qatar City. We had a caller who called in yesterday on that very issue. A tax-paying citizen in Arizona concerned about this Qatar City. And well, they should be. Unfortunately, they are probably the minority in the state of Arizona. Most folks living in Arizona are probably not aware of this, or if they have heard about it, probably don't care, because so many of Americans now have become passive and apathetic, or many may even be in favor of it, because after all, don't you know, Islam stands for peace. They're loving, peaceful people. Let Qatar build it. I mean, Qatar can't be too bad. You got a lot of the Trump people working with that government. So much misinformation, disinformation going around. And so the caller asked us yesterday, would you cover that a little bit more? Would you talk about that a little bit more? Well, wouldn't you know, today, February 5th, 2026, here comes an article by our very own Anni Cyrus, Arizona's Trojan Horse, Qatar City. But before we get to that, let's talk about an interview between J.D. Vance and Megyn Kelly. J.D. Vance and Megyn Kelly. That's making some waves today. Joining me now is Anni Cyrus with liveuptofreedom.com, liveuptofreedom.substack.com. Hello, Annie.
Hello, Brandon. How you doing?
I'm great. I'm hanging in there. I hope you are as well.
I am.
Are you? All right, you're hanging in there? All right, that's all you can do. Now, I want to go, why is it important before we play this video clip? It's kind of a lengthy clip between Vice President J.D. Vance and Megyn Kelly. Why is this clip important?
Well, the entire 2 hours, 17 minutes, I think, of the interview is important for everybody to watch. But the specific clip that we have ready, the importance of it is for our fellow Americans to understand three very major points. Number one, for anybody who's getting ready to vote for J.D. Vance, just listen to his words. He is the most unreliable man to ever lead this country, because he has apparently opened up a new business of whitewashing. The entire time he's whitewashing everything that is happening today. Though he claims he has read the history and he's aware of history, but he's got all the wrong information. Second most important part is, as we speak right now, Brannon, in less than 13 hours, United States of America's representative, Witkoff, is meeting with Araghchi, Islamic Republic of Iran's representative, in Oman in less than 13 hours, which would have made it about 30 hours after this interview came out. So when me and you sit here and we say, Trump administration says one thing, does another, this clip and the meeting that's taking place at 1 a.m. Eastern time tonight is the proof of that. We need to stop thinking there's some sort of bigger plan or a 3D chess going on. No, at this point, diplomacy is going to be the path for all issues, as long as we can keep our relationship with Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt in the region.
And, of course, let's not forget who his big buddy is. Remind our audience who apparently was the one lobbying Donald Trump for this to be his VP. Who would that be?
That would have been Elon Musk.
But also
and
Tucker Carlson, right?
Yes, Elon put his name in the hat, and Tucker Carlson came in lobbying big time for qualifications. JD is the most qualified man for the job. He did a lot of interviews with him too, a lot of clips with him too. Let's not also forget, Tucker has also had 2 visits to the White House in less than 30 days. Tucker Carlson. The dots are connecting themselves, Brannon. If people are, as you said, if enough people care to connect the dots, they're right in front of them today.
All right, let's go to this clip. Here's the clip, Megyn Kelly and the Vice President, J.D. Vance. Here we go.
The administration is trying to decide right now what to do about Iran. And that's a tough one, too, because you actually have a split, within the Republican Party, as you do on so many things, because Republicans love to disagree with each other, unlike the Democrats.
Yes, we do. And I love that. I love the diversity. I love the dynamism.
I think it's great, too. But just how aggressive should we be with Iran? There's a very large faction of the Republican Party that says, what are we talking about Iran for? What do you mean? America first. Let's focus on our own problems, affordability, all these things.
Sure.
They think President Trump spent too much time focused on overseas issues anyway, and they definitely don't want to get involved in Iran. And then there's a larger faction, another faction that is also large, that's more neocon-y, that says we missed an opportunity, we let those protesters down, the window's closing, we should be more aggressive militarily there right now. Where do you fall?
Well, so first of all, I hear the criticisms out there that the administration is too focused on foreign policy. I just have to defend the president. I don't think that's true. I think that certainly when you're the president of the United States, you do have to conduct foreign policy. We're the most powerful country in the world. But what I see him every day, he's laser focused on how do we make the American people more prosperous and more secure in their own country. That's what our immigration policy is about, which we've taken a raft over. That's what our crime policy is about. That's, even the foreign policy stuff. Much of the president's foreign policy has been focused on reshoring industry, on using tariffs to force people to reinvest in the United States of America. So the global criticism, I just don't think people, look, the president is going to have to engage in foreign policy, but this president, I think, is much more focused on the home front than any president in my lifetime. And he's gotten a lot, look, $18 trillion in new investment. The country's finally starting to reindustrialize.
$18 trillion from other countries who are investing into the United States.
In the United States of America. That has been the exact opposite. For our entire lives, Megan, it has been American money building factories overseas. Now it's other money coming in to build factories for American workers and the American people. That's big. By the way, we're not going to see the full benefits of that for years, maybe even a decade, but that's the sort of investment in the country that really pays long-term dividends. Now, Iran specifically, what should we do with Iran? Okay, a couple of things. First of all, it's the president's decision. He will ultimately decide how we handle this particular Iranian situation, just like he decided on Operation Midnight Hammer. What he has been very clear on, if you go back to 2015, 2016, 2021, 2025, the president has said consistently, we can't let these people have a nuclear weapon. Now, why? Why does that matter to America? Number one, the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism. You think it's bad when we have a domestic terror attack where a couple of people die, and you're right. What happens when the same people who are shooting up a mall or driving airplanes into buildings have a nuclear weapon? That is unacceptable. And it's not just them, because if the Iranians get a nuclear weapon, you know who gets a nuclear weapon like the next day? The Saudi Arabians, and then somebody else in the Gulf Arab state. And so you have nuclear proliferation on a global scale. The biggest threat to security in the world is a lot of people having nuclear weapons. So what the president has said is Iran's not going to get a nuclear weapon. We're going to work with China and Russia and any country, whether they're a friend or whether we're a little more competitive, to try to draw down the amount of nuclear weapons that exist in the world. I think that's the most important thing you could do for peace and stability. And the question is, what do you do to enforce that red line? Okay, Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. That is the stated policy goal of the President of the United States. It's so funny. Sometimes you have people who are saying, well, the president's too belligerent. And then sometimes you have people who say, well, the president, he's talking about diplomacy and he's talking about negotiating with the Iranians. We shouldn't negotiate. We should just bomb them. What the president's going to do is he's going to keep his options open. He's going to talk to everybody. He's going to try to accomplish what he can through non-military means. And if he feels like the military is the only option, then he's ultimately going to choose that option. I can't, I'm not going to, obviously, even if I knew what we were going to do, I would not tell you and your many millions of listeners. But I feel like people have to remember that this is not about, look, I grew up in the Iraq generation. I literally, I enlisted in the Marine Corps as an idealistic young kid right after 9/11. I went to Iraq in 2000, or I enlisted in 2003, I went to Iraq in 2005. I am very cognizant that the Middle East leads to quagmires. Trust me, so is the President of the United States, and we're hearing that. We know that's out there, but more importantly, we know the history, and the President he has no interest in repeating the history of Iraq. What he does want to make sure is that there's a totally separate issue, which is you don't let crazy people get nuclear weapons and then lead to a nuclear arms race all over the world.
Well, there are some things there, obviously, that you and I would agree with, right? I mean, the advancement of Iran getting nuclear weapons, passing them off, you're not concerned about Iran getting nuclear weapons? Of course, I think they already have nuclear weapons. David, Peter Pry, who's now been deceased, 4 years now? He was saying they have at least 1 or 2 nuclear weapons already. So, I mean, they already have them. But is there anything there you agree with that he said?
None. No.
Why?
And I'll tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
Megyn Kelly, for once, phrased the question very properly, with one mistake. Megyn, those who say we let the protesters down are not neocons. They're humans who understand when you put a post out as the leader of the free world and say we're on our way, and you didn't show up, you let them down. That's not a bunch of neocons saying it. Now, with everything J.D. Vance said, first of all, did you notice that he addressed everything except the over 60,000 dead in Iran? Did you like that whitewashing? Because I enjoyed it very much. The question specifically had the phrase of letting protesters down. He didn't mention the uprising. He didn't mention that turning into revolution. He didn't mention the tens of thousands killed. He didn't say anything about 160 of them being kids and teenagers. And then he worries about Iran having nuclear bomb. After that, Saudi Arabia getting one. Why is he not worried about Pakistan already having 170 of them? And this is why I don't agree with anything he said. Everything he said was the usual double standard of American government. What are how many of the, and did you, by the way, enjoy how he whitewashed the September 11 event? I enlisted, Iraq was a bad story, it was a bad case, let's not talk about the rest of it. And how do we know? No, we know, me and you, Brennan, we have reported on the Pakistanis who started shooting at the shopping malls and blew up bombs in America, but their country gets to have 170 nuclear bombs. How does that apply? The entire 6 minutes or 5 minutes of J.D. Vance, as I said, was whitewashing. And the only concern, no, there is a full revolution going on in Iran. There's an opportunity for Iran to be freed, and followed by that, and for the region to be in peace, and for Americans to have a better life in America. But we're ignoring even mentioning any of it. We're still worried about a nuclear bomb. Topple the regime. Nobody worries about the nuclear bombs there. Just like many other countries have them, and we don't worry about them. No, the issue is the regime. You want to keep negotiating with the regime and have some sort of red lines, apparently, that now looks like a red carpet. Sorry.
No, you're fine. This is why we bring you on. And of course, the issue is the red lines and the redrawing of the lines and the flip-flopping. And now, of course, many people are upset in the MAGA world because President Trump has come out and said we want to have a nicer, softer touch when it comes to illegal immigration. I do think they sent a guy in there that should have never been in there to start with, the lead. I think Tom Homan should have been there from the beginning. I think Tom Homan's now doing it the right way. But President Trump's now saying we're going to ask the mayors and the governors first when we come in. And of course, some are saying this is a sign of weakness. He has the right to get these people out of here as the president. So some people are accusing him of flip-flopping. Now we have David Pine out on Twitter today saying now that Iran has refused Trump's unconditional surrender uranium, Reuters is citing White House officials saying he's back to supporting starting a new regional war with Iran again. Now, David Pine thinks that could cost thousands, if not millions, of lives. And other military guys are saying, we can't defeat Iran. We'll see what Annie thinks. Don't go away.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage, and now, real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
You're watching Worldview Tube, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. Worldview Radio, our website, worldviewradio.com. Joining me now is Anni Cyrus of liveuptofreedom.com, liveuptofreedom.substack.com as well. And I want to go back to what David Pine just put out. He just tweeted this out just a few moments ago, as we actually literally 1 minute before we went on the air. So Iran is refusing unconditional surrender, the unconditional surrender ultimatum. And so according to Reuters, White House officials are saying that striking Iran is back on the table. What do you think President Trump should do? Do you think he should strike Iran, Annie?
I think President Trump should start either not talking, or when he talks, walks the walk with the talk. Genuinely, I as you know, day after he put out that truth post on January 13, on January 14, on your program, I personally said, help's not coming, it's not happening, but I wish he wouldn't put that out. And I would have preferred if U.S. doesn't get involved. That has been my story from day one of 12 Days War in June of 25 until today. United States of America should not get involved with anything involving Iran. But two things. First of all,
in other words, you think let Israel take care of it? Israel
was already taking care of it. We had no business jumping in and stopping it in the first place. But we're the ones that stopped them
from finishing it off on the 12-day war.
Exactly. And I guess the reason I'm wired very differently is I don't do well, he did the right thing at some point finally. I look at the track record. I look at one individual's track record. This we wouldn't need to sit here and talk about this if Trump administration would completely stay out of the 12 days war. Within 5 days after the 12th day, it would have been done. We would have probably be talking about the new development in Iran. And I'm not saying that because I'm Iranian and my emotions are getting in the way. No, I wrote a piece about it. I broke it down. It was done. I personally put a post out a few days ago thanking Benjamin Netanyahu for being the only man who actually delivered for Iranian people. Though he was stopped, but he did prove to the world that it is doable if you do it the right way at the right time. Now I go back to the very saying of right time, doing the right thing at the right time, doing it the right way at the right time. I'm sorry, that window closed 23 days ago. Islamic Republic of Iran panicked of maybe America is coming. In the last 23 days, they got out their duck in the row. They taunted us last week. It's a little too late to win this right now because, again, we don't seem to make a decision and move forward with it.
Well, let me give you this. This comes from War Monitor on X. Here's the Iran situation, an update. U.S. increased tempo of airlift, largely 24-hour base operations in Germany to aid this. Mainly air defense delivered, THAAD and Patriot systems and other infrastructure for strikes. Iran seized 2 ships in the Persian Gulf and attempted to board a U.S. ship with gunboats and drones, was stopped by U.S. naval escort. Iranian drones continue flights around the Gulf of Oman, flying very close to the carrier strike group. One Shophead 139 drone was shot down by an F-35 after getting too close to the carrier. U.S. reconnaissance MQ-46 drone and P-8 Poseidon aircraft continue runs around Persian Gulf, increasingly flew more south over the Gulf of Oman, likely looking for an Iranian submarines and drones. Talks to take place in Oman on Friday, despite uncertainty, although Iran continues to refuse to discuss proxy or missile stockpiles. So unlikely negotiation success, as U.S. has set these as red lines, and they provide a map of all of this. So it looks like everything's in the region. It's ready to go. What do you think will happen if you had to guess at this point, Annie?
Well, here's my best educated or pattern recognition guess. First of all, with all due respect to David Pine, I don't know where he got the information that there's a condition of, unconditional surrender of uranium that is not on the table.
I misspoke. I said uranium. The word was ultimatum. I read it too fast. But to be fair to him, his quote is, now that Iran refused Trump's unconditional surrender ultimatum.
Yes. Okay, so 3 things. What's on the table for tonight's negotiation in Oman, which, by the way, is you just read it. Oman is allowing Iran to use their aerospace. You just read that on the second post. And U.S. requested this meeting to be in Turkey. Iran requested a move of location to Oman. We agreed. Do I need to say more? They're going to meet tonight. We will hear more tough talk from both sides. They're not going to surrender. They have agreed, Iran has agreed to talk to Erdogan in Turkey and Putin in Russia to possibly temporarily transfer their enriched uranium to be stored in Turkey and Russia. They haven't signed off on it, but they have said they will talk about that. They have absolutely declined the stockpile, the missile stockpile. We're going to see some tough talks tomorrow. We're going to hear more tough talks during the week. We're going to hear about the next scheduled meeting. That's what's going to happen. The negotiations are going to keep on going. They started in February of 2025. They're still ongoing, and they're going to continue being ongoing. There will not be an attack because, as I said, now we lost the window of opportunity. If we try to attack Iran through military attack, first of all, we're going to have to admit that we're going to need Israel's help to do that. I don't think we want to do that. Secondly, it's going to be way more major and way harder to do what we could have done 23 days ago. So that's my prediction. We're going to continue negotiating until we can find a way out of our lost window, or until we can talk Bibi to join us again and do the heavy lifting while we take the credit like we did during 12 Days War.
Do you think Bibi wants to strike Iran?
Bibi has, well, how do I say this? I don't know if you're tracking, but last week we had two very major explosions in Iran. Very major. One of them in Bandar Abbas. Report from IRG itself came out that one of the heads of Iran or IRGC's Air Force was taken out on that bombing. Do we want to take a guess who's already doing the job inside Iran?
The IDF and Mossad.
So Israel has not been, again, a lot of people tell me that you're not America first, you're Israel first. No, I'm fact first. Factually, Israel has not given up. Though they got the ceasefire, though they were forced to go with the ceasefire of both Hamas and Iran, they have not given up. They are the most steady force inside Iran. And until we come to acknowledge that, Brennan, the situation is going to stay the same. It is time for United States of America to come to admit that when it comes to Iran specifically, Israel has the upper hand and we shall follow their lead instead of constantly trying to lead what is not happening. That is the tangle we have right now.
But isn't this administration, and we're going to get to Qatar City, isn't this administration compromised by all the people negotiating, whether it's Witkoff or Jared or the Trump golf course? Aren't so many of these people compromised already by Qatar? And isn't Qatar going to be levering pressure for what they want done with Iran?
Yes, but with Qatar, here's the situation. We do have what it takes to convince Qatar to let go of the regime in Iran. It's a terrible thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing. If we offer them what I think we will offer them to green light an attack on Iran, it's going to be terrible for us here in America.
And what is that we're offering them?
Well, first of all, we need to offer them military protection. Secondly, we need to offer them the same back alley access Iran allowed them to continue funding Hamas. Third, we need to replace the major support from IRGC that's helping Qatar basically getting their liquid gas out. All terrible for America and Americans, but that's all. That's all Iran is doing for Qatar. These are the three things that Iran is providing for Qatar. Easy, sadly, it's so sad to say, very easy for Trump administration to offer those three. I mean, we have done worse. Look at Syria. We literally abandoned the courts of Syria to keep giving free passes to al-Sharaa. We're going to do the same thing for Qatar, no problem.
Israel National News is reporting that Minister Smotrich there in Israel, we are committed to destroying Hamas. We will not stop. The finance minister spoke at the Religious Zionism School Principals Conference and addressed the need to strip Hamas of its weapons. Quote, we will have to return to fighting, in quote. That's good news because you can't negotiate with these people. You should not put them in control of Gaza, the new Gaza. I mean, this is all This is, I don't know. When it comes to Trump's foreign policy, he really is failing, is he not?
He's failing the country. He's not failing himself and his allies, no. But yes, he's failing the country. Pardon being so blunt. I want to add something to the Israel-Iran-U.S. Topic, one-liner, literally. For my fellow Americans who write me and say Israel will never purposely go against Trump's wishes, remember, Netanyahu has already shaken hands with Crown Prince Pahlavi. A free Iran under Crown Prince Pahlavi means Israel's not going to need us as much as they do today. Just keep that in mind when you think we can control Israel for the rest of our lives.
Let's go to Arizona's Trojan Horse, Qatar City. Brand new article by you at frontpagemag.com. What looks like...
It's actually on my Substack. Oh, sorry.
It's also on your
they published it there.
You didn't know they published it?
I had no idea it was published there too, but yes, that's good.
So it's at liveuptofreedom.substack.com and also at frontpagemag.com. Arizona's Trojan Horse, Qatar City. What looks like investment today becomes enforcement tomorrow. And you have done a very, very lengthy report on this. You go into their glossy brochure, and it's about the 6,000-acre state land auction and massive proposed development project strategically placed near Arizona's TSMC high-tech zone. All right. So there you go. Tell us what you've learned before we go to our hard break coming up.
Sure. So my main coverage on this specific one is the man behind it. The man right there, if you put the brochure back on at the bottom on the left side, you see the man's name right there. Khalid Shar, or Shayer, I think is how you say it here, an email address and a phone number that submitted the proposal. I did a deep dive into his background. The website he's using, his email address, no longer exists. However, the registration of this proposal belongs to an LLC that doesn't exist. Now, you look into the background of the non-existent LLC, it actually, interesting enough, you can find it on a registry website of a Saudi U.S. business registry. So the original business that, again, it was dissolved, it doesn't exist, though they're operating with its name today, started with a Saudi investment. Then we move forward to 2004, where Khalid in Chicago was hired by Qatar's Islamic Bank to start a new chapter of the Islamic Bank in Chicago in 2004. And he did. They started a Sharia-based Qatar Islamic Bank in Chicago. But then in 2006, there was a fallout. And then later on, Khalid goes suing the Qatar Islamic Bank for not being paid. I pause here because I know computer's going to take it away.
All right, we're going to come right back with Anni Cyrus, liveuptofreedom.com, liveuptofreedom.substack.com, and, of course, our website, worldviewtube.com. That's the TV side. Worldviewradio.com is the radio side. Get to one, you can find the other. Be sure to stay tuned for Crosstalk with Jim Schneider, coming up at 2 p.m. Central here on the VCY America Radio Network. It's America's original Christian talk program since the 1970s, heard on more than 100 outlets each and every day. Also available at vcy.org. And we'll be right back. The dollar is dying. It's going down, and inflation is soaring. Are you prepared to lose through inflation your life saving, your purchasing power? I don't think you have to. I would urge you to go right now to worldviewgold.com. Worldviewgold.com. Get the free packet of information available, because you know what? I've been working with this company for about 17 years, and I trust them. Now, look, I don't give financial advice. I give financial opinion. And my opinion is you should do your own homework and your own due diligence. And I think that starts with getting the free, no obligation packet of information on how to put gold into your IRA, how to acquire physical gold or silver, or what is known as numismatic, 1933 and older. Education is crucial, and it starts with this free packet at worldviewgold.com, worldviewgold.com, or 1-877-864-1072, 1-877-864-1072, worldviewgold.com. let's pick it up here. This is a multi-million-dollar land proposal with zero corporate transparency, you write. A foreign name project tied to a now defunct LLC with no real-world business trail. That's what you write. And a broker name that appears more as a prop than a partner, you write. If this were a serious civic development, we'd see paperwork, public meetings, investor names, or zoning disclosures. Instead, we get a shell, a name, and an invisible network, which really raises the real question. Who really is behind this? All right. In 2004, you go on to talk about this individual who was hired by the Qatar Islamic Bank, a massive Sharia-compliant financial institution directly linked to Qatar's Islamist ruling elite to help launch a U.S.-based Islamic bank called U.S. Finance House. What do you think's really going on here? Is this individual, your premise is of your article, this individual is just a name and a placeholder, that this is really the government of Qatar building a massive compound in America, right? So we're going to give them a military access to a base in Idaho and a gigantic, how many acres did I read? 6,000 acres in Arizona. So at what point I think she's muted, is she not, guys?
I'm not.
At what point are all the people that keep asking if we're America first because we focus on Iran and what's going on with Israel and Qatar? When are these people going to realize this is all tied to America first, because these are the people and the money and the funding source that's taking over America? And let's not forget, and I had an argument with someone today who was trying to tell me that Iran had nothing to do with the October 7th attack. Okay. Yeah. And I replied back nicely. It is known fact and documented that Iran has been funding and training and providing weapons to Hamas for a long, long, long time. So if you don't think this isn't an issue because of October 7th, it is. And they said that day, and you and I were on the air for 8 hours that day, we said, as we were reporting, quoting them, they want to do this over and over and over again, and they want to bring it to America. Now, why would we not be concentrating on these things overseas when we realize it directly impacts America? So all these America first people that criticize us for concentrating outside our borders don't seem to understand we are more America first than they are. A, because we're more educated than they are, and B, that education causes us to understand where is the root and source of the problem inside our own border. And it does involve places like Qatar, Iran, and China for sure. We just found another biolab in a garage tied back to China, and supposedly the same Chinese entity where we had the one in Red Lake, California in 2023 that Gordon Chang and others have warned on our show. You know, these are all over the country, okay? How more America first can you be when you're trying to say Russia, China, Iran, and Qatar, and maybe not as much Russia, depending on who you talk to, they have infiltrated our country. They are now getting base access and building compounds in the country. But excuse me, somehow we're not America first because we talk about this.
I love that you said that. Let me read the very closing paragraph of my Substack. It said, so now we ask, what happens when you pair a Qatari military presence in Idaho with a Qatari branded city plan in Arizona, led by a man who once built Sharia-based financial infrastructure on U.S. territory with backing from Qatar's most powerful bank? This isn't about Muslim families building homes. This is about the alliances we made with regimes that build ideological colonies while we pretend it's economic diplomacy. They don't need to invade us. They just need to invest.
And what's
That's
ironic
my closing.
is I did not know you wrote that because I haven't had time to read your full article. So
I know. That's why I started smiling when you said there's the base. There's like, exactly.
So you and I are on the same page. So yes. I want to reiterate it again. These people accuse us of being Israel first or Iran first or whatever, but they accuse us of not being America first. We're way more America first than they are because we are pointing out the people that are trying to take us down, the enemies, foreign and domestic.
Exactly. That's exactly what the Substack came out. I had on the comment sections, I had people saying, how? You're laser focused on what's happening in Iran. How do you go catch this? And I was like, do you really think I'm laser focused on what's happening in Iran just because I'm Iranian? No, because I know a lot of other moves are going to happen right now. This is one of them. Saudi Arabia's new, did you see the new arms deal we just made with Saudi Arabia and Turkey?
I read about it, but tell our audience about it.
Well, we just renewed our original F-35 deals with Turkey, with Erdogan. This happened literally day after Erdogan joined the Peace Board as one of the Peace Board chairs. And then we also not only renewed our arms deal with Qatar, we also renewed our base with them. Especially because we just withdrew from Iraqi base, right? We don't have a base in Iraq anymore. Therefore, we doubled down on keeping our base and our soldiers and our equipment in Qatar. This is how, as you said, this is me and you. This is how we connect the dots. We're not laser focused on Minnesota. I'm sorry, everybody else is covering Minnesota. There is no point for me to cover it. I need to go beyond borders because when it comes to infiltration of America from within, it is happening from within, but the actors are from outside. And nobody wants to acknowledge that. Everybody thinks somehow somebody somewhere changed their mind, changed their path, going back to MEK. I had my guest on my program yesterday, Brandon, which I actually talked to Thomas. I'm going to introduce him to you. I think you would be interested in interviewing him as well. He's running for Congress in Texas, District 32. That's Plano, right where Epic City is being built. He's a fellow Iranian American Christian Republican who's running for Congress. But he said it on my show yesterday. He said, whenever I look at these Republicans who are in pockets of MEK, it gives me more motivation to run and stop the weakness and the swamp of Republicans, not Democrats. He literally admittedly said, we have too many weak Republicans to even help President Trump make a difference. Which goes back to when you asked me, is he getting bad information? Yes, he's getting information from a bunch of people who even are invested in, or they are getting checks from other actors to promote them. We're being under attack from way too many fronts to just focus inside America.
Well, and we can't even get the SAVE Act to the floor so we can have people vote with an ID showing they're a legal citizen registered to vote.
No, we wouldn't want that.
No, we wouldn't want that because the Uniparty, which includes most of your Republicans, are all on the same team. And they're playing for the destruction of the country.
Yes.
They're either leveraged because they're fooling around and doing things they shouldn't be doing on video, and or they're taking so much money that they're willing to sell out the country because the pay is so great. I don't know which one it is. Maybe it's none of those things. But why would you not want, as a Republican, to bring a vote and get this SAVE Act done unless you are compromised and you want the destruction of the country? I do agree with President Trump today on something, that's for sure. He's putting out, and so is Senator Tommy Tuberville of Alabama, that we have 6 lawmakers serving in Congress who didn't legitimately win their elections due to massive voter fraud. So
just 6?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Well, that was just, I think, based on the 2020 election. That was just based on the 2020 election, and I think related to Georgia. But we have foreign governments interfering in our elections. So every time we turn around, almost all of our problems, not all of them, but a lot of our problems come back to actors outside the country, which is why we keep focusing on all the enemies outside the country who are impacting us inside the country.
Exactly. And we need to Brandon, I know this doesn't sound kind, but we need to snap, not me and you, but people need to snap out of the two-party cult.
Yes.
Stop dictating to yourself. One is more evil, one is less evil. Stop following party lines. Start paying attention to who's doing what. Actions speak louder than words. How many of these legislators have made you promises that when they were elected never delivered? Replace them. Don't vote for them. Don't cheer them on. And stop saying the alternative would be worse. Brandon, can you imagine? Every time I hear people here saying, well, would you want the alternative? Can you imagine if Kamala was in the office? Da 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 da. My response is, I can't imagine you ever trying to be a Christian in an Islamic country, because you probably would walk away from Christ because the alternative would be death.
Well, right now, I think we're continuing to get reports of people being murdered in Nigeria by the Islamists.
Yes. Oh, Sudan is getting worse. Remember my coverage on Sudan and what they're doing to Christians in Sudan?
Let me open the phone lines real quick, Annie. 1-800-347-9829. Phone lines open. Your thoughts, your comments, your questions on any of this. 1-800-347-9829. Make your comments really fast, and we'll go through as many calls as we can get. 1-800-347-9829. 1-800-347-9829. Annie, so
yes.
If Qatar gets this base, or this 6,000 acre compound, and they keep expanding in America, what is their ultimate goal and objective?
Their ultimate goal is to conquer America and fly the Islamic banner or flag over our White House. So that's literally the ultimate goal. So
they're buying land and building mosques is to keep converting people and turning the whole country to them, Islam.
Yes, that's why the subtitle of the article says what looks like an investment today will become enforcement tomorrow.
So are they counting on converting Americans, Caucasians to Islam, or are they counting on importing more?
Both. Absolutely both. Because, well, there's a third one too, where they are growing through birth rate. Mm-hmm. They're also giving birth to Muslim kids who are going to grow up to be Muslim adults. So they're counting on all three, but heavily right now, counting on converting through interfaith dialogue, the American citizens. That's their heaviest push. That's why they're building these cities. Epic City, Qatar City. Next one's going to probably be, I don't know, Egypt City, and then Hezbollah City, soon IRGC City. I know I sound sarcastic. I'm serious. If we don't pay attention, if we don't stop it, we're going to see worse than that. I mean, don't we have Palestine Square somewhere in New York?
Well, we know we also have what look to be NYPD cars, but they're Sharia patrols.
Yes.
We've got China's got police stations around the country. So the Red-Green Axis is already building their base. They got their Sharia courts here. And now the Trump administration is apparently buying up a bunch of warehouses to supposedly convert into jail cells. And so we will have built the entire infrastructure. Exactly. We will have built the entire infrastructure for the Uniparty and their Marxist Muslim friends once Trump's gone to arrest us and take us there. 1-800-347-9829.
Consumers often ask, what should I expect when I take the Bella Grace elixir? And the answer is varied. It really depends on what your health and wellness needs are. I would consider this as your foundational core product for a whole range of health and wellness issues. Let me give you a few examples. If you're a little bit older and you have some joint health issues, some problems with mobility and discomfort, the elixir is going to be your best friend. If you have some skin health issues, wrinkles, hydration, aging, all of those elements are going to be benefited from the elixir, including age spots. Now, if you're in a younger demographic, maybe visual health is where you need some assistance. Eye fatigue, dry eyes, all of those are going to be benefited by the elixir. It's a core product because it benefits so many.
1-800-347-9829. Let's get to your calls right away. Tom in Kansas, line 2. Hello, Tom. What are your thoughts today?
Well, Trump's not running on on everything he said he was going to do. He's got almost a bigger snake pit around him than he had the first time.
It's a very good comment, actually. Yeah. What do you do? What do you do for a living, Tom?
I'm a retired federal employee.
Okay.
I've never trusted anybody above my level.
Well, I don't blame you.
Well, they're either on take for stuff, money, or sex.
Yeah, exactly right.
All of them.
Yep. And I don't know if you heard our talk yesterday, and I was pretty adamant about this last night. And I had Mitch Wexler back on with his case before the Supreme Court of Texas, that pretty much all of our municipalities across this country are based on fraud with our school bonds and the crooked school bonds and putting out more bonds to cover the payments on the first bonds. I mean, isn't that the very definition of a Ponzi scheme?
Yes. We'd be in prison for that.
Exactly right. Tom, thank you for calling in, Tom. Tom from Kansas. Aaron, line 3. Hello, Aaron.
Yeah, hi, Brandon. I'm just wondering about your thoughts and opinions and the potential possibilities of Islam becoming so strong in Texas that they take over so many governmental positions that they could end up seceding from the Union and having their own country right here in the United States.
Well, Annie's shaking her head yes on that. Of course, they're going to have to compete with Mexico because we're now hearing from Peter Schweitzer that Mexico has a lot of their officials here in the U.S., and that's their objective and goal, is to take back a bunch of the country. Before I moved 21 years ago to the Mid-South, where I was born in the Mid-South, before I moved back here 21 years ago, next month, we looked at Texas. And I said no, for multiple reasons. But one of the reasons was it was too close to Mexico. And I said, this is a dangerous place to live, in my opinion. You're way too close to Mexico, which is a narco-terrorist state. Too close. I'm not going to get that close to Mexico. And now look at what we see. Now we got Peter Schweitzer saying some of these folks that are leaders in the legislature there in Mexico are dual jumping between Mexico and America, representing their constituents living in the U.S. Now, we years ago covered La Raza, the race. I'm telling you, the Muslims are going to have to compete with the Mexicans that want to take the country. Maybe they can work out a deal. Annie, quick comment.
I was just thinking they can work out a deal just like Cartel and IRGC did at the border. There is plenty in Texas. There's plenty power to go. But at the same time, I would say I think by next 12 months or so, there will be a heavy pushback against the Islamization of Texas. I'm not saying they're going to win, but there will be a major pushback.
Well, President Trump just endorsed, did he not, Cornyn over Ken Paxton? And Ken Paxton's the one that's been very, very vocal about the city in Texas with Qatar, with Yasser Qadi.
Yes, but with all due respect, personally living in Texas, as you know, and having a lot of friends and connections in Texas, almost nobody is considering President Trump's endorsements anymore.
Wow.
There.
Let's run to Vince, who's calling in from Australia, line 1. Hello, Vince. Hi, Vince.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Brandon.
Yeah.
Brandon, look, quickly. Hi there. Yeah. Brandon, look, just quickly want to let you know, I think Jeb on Monday was bang on the money when he said America isn't focused on the Islamic problem in the West in general because they're too focused on vilifying Israel. And I experienced it firsthand when I embedded myself with him in August 2024 inside a pro-Fakestein rally in Brisbane. I felt like I was both in Berlin 1938 and Beijing 1966 in one time. I took photos, I took videos, which I put on my website. I heard calls like death to the IDF and all the usual garbage, and they said our Marxist government wasn't going far enough in supporting Palestine.
What's your website,
honestly,
Vince?
It was chilling.
What's your website?
VinceBarwinski.com.
Oh, come on, really?
/blog.
VINCE. Someone, how do you spell VINCE?
VINCE. Yeah, VINCE, then BARWINSKI.
WINSKI?
VINCE. Yeah, VINCE. And then BARWINSKI.
All right.
Yeah.
I want to get a hold of some of that footage.
Log, yeah. Yeah, I can give it to. I can send it to you by your email, isn't it, Brennan at worldviewtube.com?
Please,
yeah.
please do that. We'd like to play that with your permission.
I'll put the.
Excellent. Thank you, Vince.
You can play it. It's on my. I've been trying to get news outlets. They don't want to touch it.
No, we'll touch it.
No. Yeah,
we'll touch it. But so Vince, you're saying you were in your country in a protest, and the people there were basically neo-Nazis. They were anti-Israel, anti-Semites, and pro basically CCP.
Well, you could see pro Hamas. There were all these unions where there was one militant union of ours called, they call it the CFMEU. They're a real Marxist union. They were there. But you had these unions, they seem more concerned with bashing Israel than concerned for workers' rights here in Australia.
Yeah, that's the same here. Awesome. Yeah. Vince, call in again. Yeah. Love having you call in. I got to get to Randy real quick before I run out of time. Line 4, Randy. Go, Randy.
Yeah. Hi, great program. I just want to say that I think Trump and his administration should allow Israel the freedom to do what they choose is right, because it is their God-given land, and they have rights to, yes, everything from the river to the sea, and that being the Euphrates that God promised Abraham.
Excellent, Paul. Randy, thank you. Joel chapter 3, I'm angry because you've divided my land. And unfortunately, I mean, it looks like the Trump administration is more aggressively dividing the land of Israel than the Biden administration did. I mean, can you imagine if the Biden administration had come out with a big glossy PDF on we're going to take over and build and develop, and his son-in-law was involved, or his son, and they'd all been helped by Qatar. I mean, people would be, their heads would be exploding over here in the U.S., but no, it's crickets, because we're America first, and we'll allow all kinds of garbage to happen in the name of pragmatism, right? Annie, closing comment?
Absolutely. No, it's the double standards. It's the two-party cult, and if we don't snap out of it, we're going to be consumed by both sides working together.
100%. Don't go anywhere, Annie. liveuptofreedom.substack.com. Stay tuned for Crosstalk. We're worldviewtube.com. Take care.
This has been...
All right, we're back with WROS out of Jacksonville, Florida, and worldviewtube.com. Hello, Dolly. Do we have the Dolly cam up and running today? It's in there. She just walked in to the studio and hopped down on her My Pillow pet bed and wagging her tail at me. She's adorable. You're looking adorable today, Dolly. Did you notice, by the way, that Vince from Australia was quoting Jeb? Wow. Jeb the other night, I was like, wait a minute, who's Jeb? Oh, wait a minute, Jeb from the control room. We did a segment the other night with the control room guys, the three of them, and we're getting just slammed with people saying, do more of that. They want to hear from these 20-somethings because people are trying to figure out this generation. Did you get a chance to watch any of that, Annie?
I have not. I did bookmark it, but I haven't had the chance. I'm still waiting for that one Saturday when I can sit down and catch up.
I understand.
It just hasn't arrived yet.
I just thought when the guy said Jeb had it right, I had to stop and think, who's Jeb? When did I have a Jeb on the show? I'm like, wait a minute, that's the control room Jeb. Yeah. All right, let me ask you in our remaining moments here, Annie. Where do you think this is going? If you had to war game it right now, what do you think the next 12 to 24 months holds between the collapse of the dollar? I mean, we're seeing Bitcoin crash today. Am I going to upset anybody, Logan, if I rejoice over the crashing of Bitcoin?
I'll join you.
Because I think that's hilarious. I hope it goes to zero. I think that's absolutely hilarious that people are so stupid they would go buy something that you cannot physically touch. You don't know who started it. It could be the CIA for all we know. And you go and you buy this thing and you put they see as freedom, do they? Well, you know what? If you want freedom, go buy rental properties or land or something physical, tangible, silver, gold, This is so dumb. I don't know if this is true or not, but I'm reading now that it now costs, a single Bitcoin is now over $90,000. The average cost to mine a single Bitcoin is now over $90,000. The price of a Bitcoin has collapsed to $67,000. But anyway, the whole world is asking. Gold and silver are down, but of course they're still at very big highs. Gold and silver are down, Bitcoin's down. There apparently are more homes on the market for sale than has ever been in recorded history today. The dollar's down. Our debt is up. The purchasing power of the dollar is down. I mean, what do you see from the next 12 months for our country?
Well, the scariest thing that I do see for next 12 months is the midterm. It is going to be the midterm that the results are going to create another backlash of election fraud. I am not disregarding election fraud. Please understand that. However, the denial from the right, it's going to lead into, oh, it was election fraud. And with that denial, we're not going to realize the mistakes that were made by the Republican Party, regardless of how many of them are rhinos, how many of them are heroes. It doesn't matter. As an entity of Republican Party, their failure and their mistakes is going to again go unacknowledged, because we're going to shape the election fraud system for midterm. We're going to lose a lot of seats. I know a lot of people think another red wave is coming. There will be a major green wave hitting us this midterm. When I say green wave, I'm talking Muslims, Muslim Marxists like Mamdani and Fateh. And from there, unfortunately, the battle for our economy, our national security, and stopping Islamization is going to be 10 times harder comes 2027. It's going to be very hard to fight any of these issues 27 with the flip of seats and the change of blue and red into green wave.
What do you think all of these warehouses, they're trying to buy one over in Byhalia, Mississippi. I could spit about hit Byhalia, Mississippi, but I think the Mississippi government's saying, thank you, Mr. Trump, but no thank you. What do they want to do? House like 10,000 people there? Well,
I also heard some of them are
for illegals?
Data center.
Are they for illegals, or is this all a ruse? Because, it seems as though the Trump administration is building the whole Antichrist beast system to be used by somebody. So it sounds like to me they're building the whole beast system, and now they're building the warehouses to warehouse the dissidents, all under the name of illegal immigration. But one has to wonder if this isn't just Trump building and the whole system that will be used to come after his own Patriot MAGA party when he's gone.
Well, the thing is, we shouldn't need places for illegals because we should be deporting illegals. Yeah. So yes, it's not for illegals.
So who's it for? Who's it for?
Well, I'll see you there.
I mean, can you again imagine what people would be saying if this was going on under the Biden administration?
Oh, we would be well, this wouldn't be happening because the pushback would be plenty to stop or delay it if it was under Biden or Kamala or Obama.
All right, guys, live up to freedom.substack.com, us, worldviewtube.com. Thanks for your support. Where else are you going to get radio and TV like this? We need your support. Worldviewfoundation.com. Take care.